Who are we?
Nobodies!
Speak for yourself.
Okay. We're Canadian filmmakers with the dream of surviving financially on the backs of our films.
Welcome to our show where we bring people along on our film journey.
Maybe we can learn a thing or two.
Maybe we can teach people a thing or two while drinking beers.
I mean, if you can't drink beers while filmmaking, what's the point?
We are Fable Forest Films, failing our way to success.
Welcome to Jurassic Park. I mean, our show. First Frames First.
Hello, and welcome to episode 19 of First Frames First.
Yes. It was very Halloween-like.
Yes. I'm going to do an evil laugh.
Okay, go. Good one.
Thanks.
Yeah. This is episode 19. Did you say 19 already? Mm-hmm. Episode 19 of First Frames First, a special episode, which we filmed weeks ago, as guests of our good new friends at RCMP Podcast, RCMPodcast.com. They invited us on the show to speak about our favorite Canadian horror film,
yes, and
we chose Cube. So we spent a good hour with these guys chit-chatting about Canadian film and indie film, and it was a lot of fun.
It was a great podcast. Yeah.
It aired on their show Halloween night.
Yeah,
for their audience, and
they are real professionals.
It's true, they are.
We are juggling clowns.
My understanding
compared
is
to those professionals.
They don't have a super sweet YouTube channel like we have.
But we are the champions.
No, they don't interrupt each other.
No,
very nice.
They have professional audio voices, like voices that are designed for radio.
Yeah,
their voices are amazing.
Very true. They had amazing microphones.
Yes.
They kept their show under an hour.
They had questions ready.
They had a plan.
Yeah.
It was quite something. I think we learned a lot. Our show's going to be better every time after this one. Mm-hmm. Our show will get better and better. So, I mean, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And hopefully we have a huge new following after, all
hundreds and hundreds of thousands of millions of people probably. That's what I'm expecting anyway.
Right. I mean, they have a pretty large following, and obviously after they heard our witty banter, they will be like, we're dropping one show. We have a new favorite show. So, welcome all you new listeners. I'm sorry that the first show you're hearing after listening to us speak is just a replay of the exact same show we just did. So maybe skip this one. Go back and listen to all of our other shows.
You're way overthinking it.
Yeah, am I?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go back and listen to all of our other shows, and then jump back to episode 20. We're gonna have a 3D. We're gonna have a super special.
I would have thought he would have been smoking pot, but I know he doesn't smoke pot.
No, I don't.
No.
Well, I hope you enjoy the show that we did, and
please enjoy it. And do you know what? Before you watch the show, before you listen to the show, go and watch Cube.
Oh,
because it's awesome.
And we don't want to spoil everything for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to the show, it will get spoiled.
Yes.
And listen, guys, if you find anything helpful, follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram.
Yes.
And give us a share and maybe a review in iTunes. Tell us how garbage our show is.
Or alternatively, enjoy our show.
Yeah, do that one.
And mention that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Hey, do you want to do an intro to your show now? I don't know.
Do you know what? We have stage fright after your amazing intro. we usually just fumble through our intro. We have no idea what we're doing. So it was good to be part of a group of professional people that know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Felt really good. What we had to do, because we're writers, is we documented what our intro was like, and then we took 47 takes to get it 50% right.
That was amazing. What an intro.
Yeah.
So with us today, we have Adrian Constant and Jason Green, or Jason Green and Adrian Constant from the Fable Forest films. And they are also from the podcast First Frames First. Hey, guys.
Yes.
Hey-o.
Howdy.
So these guys have an awesome podcast. You should check it out for our listeners who are more technically inclined. They talk movies. They talk gadgets. What else do you guys talk about on your show?
Well, I would say that really what our show is all about is our film journey. So we're a couple independent film makers, producers, directors. And our show really is all about documenting everything that we do within our company. We totally talk about films and we totally talk about things that are going on in film world and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we talk about our writing process and, when we're shooting short films and really anything that we're up to.
Yeah, so I'd say that like the primary motivation for me is to map the journey from A to Z as someone would make a movie, or as they would, put themselves out there when they make a movie. Because that's what I find so interesting with other people, is how they did it. And so we're just basically making a map.
And what we found was, just quickly, we wanted to document the journey of one full-length feature film.
Yeah.
But as we sat down, the more we got to talking, we realized that indie filmmakers and artists, they have a lot of irons in the fire. So we kind of turned it into more of just a journey of everything that we're up to. So we kind of bounce around project to project, and it's a lot of fun.
And so, what kind of short films are you guys working on right now?
Well, we actually shot in Stratford, Ontario, beautiful city, on October 1st. We're working on a short film called My Huntsville Muse. It's a lovely little 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Kind of, we won't give too much away, but or will we?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay.
It's a romantic ghost. It's a romantic ghost story. So it's a ghost story, but I mean the primary driver is love and romance. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot like the film you guys chose for us today.
Oh yeah, very
charming
well.
love
Basically
story
the
about
same thing.
Yeah.
Really romantic, 100%.
So, what movie did you guys bring for our podcast today?
Well, when you guys said, think about one of your favorite Canadian horror movies, Cube jumped out at me for sure. I mean, I've seen it a bunch of times. Adrian had never seen it before, so in prep we had a little bit of a screening. It was fun.
Adrian, how can you work in genre if not have seen Cube?
Yeah, it's terrible. But a lot of the Canadian classics I'm learning through Jason, who's like a film fanatic. He's seen everything with his eyeballs. So I'm learning as I go, because there are certain Canadian cornerstones and Canadian staples that I missed out growing up in South Africa. Because I would only get the international stuff,
This is an interesting one because it did seem like a real phenomena. I was pretty young when it came out, but it was a real schoolyard one where people were like, "Man, have you seen this movie? Like, I gotta get sliced into cubes." Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah, no, it was, and do you know what? It held together really well for a movie that was
today.
Made in the 90s.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah,
98. 98. Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah. So do you guys want to walk through just briefly what the plot is? And feel free to spoil. I think we can all say as a general consensus, go watch this fucking movie.
Cube is fun. It's
great.
Oh, super fun.
My sister doesn't like horror movies at all, and I recommended this to her because I'm like, dude, this is totally a math nerd's movie. Like, you're going to love this. It's great.
Yeah, it's funny. There are a couple moments, but I don't even know if I would go as far as to say it's a super horror.
No.
Yeah, there's a face melting and a
gore.
slicey thing.
If you can handle, I don't even say if you can handle Cronenberg. I actually think it's milder than Cronenberg.
Yeah.
But like, if you can handle a psychological thriller, you're going to be fine. This is not
a
serious issue. So what's this movie about, guys?
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I love the intro because the intro sets up the whole film as a man wakes up in a box, in a room, a square room, and he has doors all around him. And he has a door to the left, to the right, forward, back, up and down.
Right. He's in a cube.
He's in a cube. Oh,
yeah.
Nailed it. So, what he does is he decides, right, I'm going to leave this box. I'm going to go through the door. And he does. And as he gets to the other side, he gets annihilated.
Yes. There's like a if you've seen like Resident Evil with all the lasers that cut a guy into like a million pieces.
And right from that moment, you know what you're up to. You know that you're going to be confused. You know that people are going to be stuck in a space.
Yeah, there's going to be traps.
People are going to get cut into pieces.
Yeah.
And so the story embarks as we meet our characters for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I found interesting was that they set it up with that guy dying straight away. I thought that we were going to have more solo action before people started getting together. That's what I did think.
Oh, you thought like you would see them each in their own individual compartments trying to figure things out?
Yeah.
I will say the one neat thing I really liked about this was the opening. Is that I would say that at the time, and maybe even now, although some of the characters have gone on to do neat things, but at the time, that guy that plays the first character, he is like Julian Richings, he is like a staple of weird Canadian horror. He really everything. I mean, he's a weird looking cat, and gets a lot of work for that. But what they did was they brought him in probably for half a day or a day or whatever they brought him in for.
Yeah.
He's the guy that everyone recognizes, and they kill him immediately and then move on to the lesser known folks at the time, right? So that was pretty cool.
Posters, they use him as the big promotions because that's what he looks like, right? Like he's just, and I think it's to be also because he just has such a fascinating, expressive face, and because he's a solo individual, and the rest of it is kind of like 10 Little Indians, almost like who's going to survive, who's going to be the last man standing. When you see him, then you don't get the spoiler of like who's going to be the last man standing of the rest of the Cubites, right?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Now, question: is he Gollum?
No.
No, he is not.
I was just curious.
No, sure. No, he's not.
He's a bit of a Gollum, I guess.
No, Julian Richings, our listeners will know from Hardcore Logo. He's awesome in that, playing a punk rocker.
Yeah.
You will know him from, hopefully you guys all checked out Trisha Lee's film. He is in Blood Demons, I think. Blood Hunters, thank you, Blood Hunters. I should know our own guest films. He plays Death on Supernatural. He is in a ton of Canadian stuff. He's great.
He was actually in a film with a buddy of ours called Ejecta. I don't know if you've seen that one. It was pretty cool. Yeah, pretty low budget. Well, I mean I shouldn't say low budget, but definitely an indie flick. But I mean he sits in a chair the entire movie. It's amazing, and they interview him, so it's pretty cool.
So back to the plot of the film.
No. But what I. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
for sure. I was just gonna say it was a genius indie film move to bring in somebody that everybody recognizes and put him in a couple minutes. So
absolutely, just to let you guys know from a casting perspective, when you're putting a movie like this together, and I don't know if you guys know this, but like what you do is you find a small role that will require just a half a day, and you get someone with a name to say yes to that tiny little role, because then you do use them in promotions and you can afford them.
Yeah, a good friend of ours made a feature film with, and they used Henry Rollins as the voice on the phone.
Yeah.
Right? And oh, well, yeah. What? So, I mean, he might remember the movie In the House of Flies. And so it's just a quick little movie with some people in a basement, and Henry plays the voice of the guy on the phone. Genius. And again, he's on all the promotional material. His name's on the cover of the DVD, but I mean, he did voiceover work, which Becky, I hear you do voiceover work, so it is a wonderful.
We can hear it as soon as we heard your intro.
Yes, it is.
That's right. It's the true professional
and
voice.
I mean, the big Canadian success story is always our classic kid show, the hilarious House of Frightenstein, which quote unquote starred Vincent Price, and they filmed just one day of him. And he was in like 3 seasons of that show.
That's the genius thing about indie films. Smoke and mirrors, for sure.
But that's also
moving on.
It's like, but that's marketing as well, kind of as you go along. Where like John Candy for us was billed in The Silent Partner as being a thing, but this was his first role and he's barely in it, right? So it's one of those things where you can also kind of retroactively be like, oh yeah, Julian Richings, he's in everything, he's great.
Yeah, absolutely. The Jennifer Lawrence movie, I haven't even seen it. It's on Netflix.
Hunger Games?
No. Like her first movie.
Oh,
I'm sorry, guys, but
Winter's Bone?
No, even before Winter's Bone, she was in something, and anyway, it popped up on Netflix because it was Jennifer Lawrence, and she had become a big star. So it absolutely retroactively happens. Yeah,
for sure.
So back to the plot. Here we go. Yeah. Go ahead, gentlemen. So we have left our man in pieces. What's the next step?
Well, then we're introduced to a ragtag group of individuals who slowly come together, and each of them. The fascinating thing about each of these individuals, as they're trying to work out where they are and how they can move from room to room and survive, is that each of them is different. Each of them is different in the skills that they bring to the group. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like they were brought together to see if they were able to work it out.
Right.
Here's a little piece of trivia for you guys. I don't know if you know this. So, as this was originally conceived, they wanted it to be even more Terry Gilliam-esque, and originally they were all supposed to be accountants.
Yeah. I heard that, but you know, it's interesting because and this is something that I don't think Adrian knows, but he will love, is they ended up giving, do you remember how they all had names, like Levin?
Yeah.
So they all had on their jumpsuit their name, right? All of the characters' names were names of prisons, real prisons, that are kind of based on the types of person that they are. Like Levin was for like Leavenworth, and Quentin was for like Sam Quentin, and each of those prisons are known for the kind of thing that person was. Like I think Leavenworth is for like white collar crime, and that's where that accountant guy was from.
Yeah. And that's fantastic. Talk about the broader metaphor coming in there,
right?
About it being trapped and imprisoned.
Adrian is all about coming up with a plan, a little bit of metaphor, and
Adrian, we're gonna pick your brain later. I'm excited about this. I got some questions.
Okay, cool.
Great. All right, so we have our ragtag group. They slowly puzzle through how to escape from this thing without getting their faces melted off or cut into pieces.
Yeah. So what happens is as you go into each room, like the room is either clear, like where there are no traps, or the room is trapped, so that the person that hops into the room will get sliced, they'll get acid in their face, they'll get squashed by something, gas. So they have to kind of work out how to move from cube to cube, from room to room, without getting annihilated.
So we introduced this one character. I think his name is Ren. I always thought, and it's funny because now that I found out about the prisons, I always thought that they were calling him like the Renard. I never like looked up on IMDb, but I always kind of thought it was a reference to like the Fox or like an escape artist, because I don't know if you guys remember like Ocean's, I want to say 12, but like the French Renard escape artist guy. But anyways, I was thinking that they introduced this guy, and he was kind of amazing. He was my favorite character when I first started watching him because
the prisoner.
Yeah. No,
the escape artist. Sorry,
the escape artist. Yeah. Because he did this thing which has always stuck with me right from my early, I guess, teens when this came out. But everybody's getting angry and cranky, and they're like, we don't have anything to eat. What are we gonna do? And this guy who's kind of like the survivor man, right? Like he walks in and he doesn't even hardly talk to the people, and he just opens up the next gate, and they're freaking out because they think something's going to go wrong, and he tosses a boot in the next room.
So that's how he tests. That's how he checks that the room is free of traps.
Right. The boot gets like a bolt of lightning on it, and he pulls it back, and it's singed, and he's like, "Whoop, not that room. We're gonna go, try this other room." But he does this thing which has always stuck with me, which is he takes a button off his shirt, and he puts it in his mouth, and he says, if you suck a button, it will keep your saliva running all the time so that you won't dehydrate.
And yeah, absolutely.
And it's funny because later on in life, I was watching like a Survivor Man with Les Stroud, and he said the same thing, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, he probably watched The Cube.
He probably watched The Cube, for sure. I mean, Les Stroud is a Canadian.
Let's talk about genius filmmaking for a moment here, just in terms of creating, like how to set up a film that is interesting and intriguing right off the bat from a plot point. And of course, one of the main things that I think a lot of modern films forget is the ticking clock. Like, what is the time point that we need? And you have a character outright say, "We have 3 days without food or water before we die." So there you go. There's your ticking clock right off the bat. We got to get out of here in 3 days or we die, and we have to do it before we start getting delirious, right?
That's right. And they do it well with the makeup as people progress, and you see the lips and they start to deteriorate and get tired. They don't really. And I did wonder. There was at one point they came across the handicapped individual, and he urinated in the corner, and I wondered, would he have done that if he had been dehydrated?
Yeah. He would have. Yeah.
You are fascinating in what you wonder about.
You can definitely, and it's really frustrating too, because the problem is though, even though you're dehydrated, your bladder can still be full. Like, it doesn't like go into your body and hydrate you. So it's actually really frustrating because you can actually be super thirsty and still have to pee and be angry that you're peeing out potential liquid that, I mean,
you can
if you watch
drink
Waterworld though.
I mean, we all know your penis will betray you, right? So you can't help it.
I mean, that's true. But, yeah. So, I mean, if you watch Waterworld, you can drink your own pee.
Okay. Yeah, so yes,
Welcome back.
You're absolutely right. The ticking clock is super important to build that tension, to make sure that you care that people are moving forward, because
Part of the
otherwise people could just sit down.
Yeah.
I think part of the fundamental thing that makes this film interesting and last is that this could so easily be boring. It is a bunch of people in a room talking about how to get outside of this room, and it's essentially the same scene. It is the same scene. Everything is shot in exactly the same cube over and over and over again, and the set is literally two different cubes, one that's 3/4 and one that's a full cube, and it could so easily become boring. But because you add this ticking clock, you're able to ratchet up you automatically have a way to ratchet up the tension.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And I will say that when you're in a situation like that, the characters and the people are the thing that's going to keep you in the movie. And my favorite was the character turn of the leading man, of the police officer.
Oh yeah.
You
think he's going to be the hero.
You think he's going to be the leader and the hero, and that's sort of how he comes off at the beginning. But at some stage, he turns, and that was my absolute favorite turn. Mm-hmm. I really love it.
It seems very realistic too. As much as he does that, he becomes a kind of heightened, crazy monster. He's great. It makes sense. He's kind of like a fascist, and it all starts falling apart. And when he goes crazy, that's the guy you don't want to go crazy, right?
And we should also talk about how great this cast is for such a low-budget film. So that specifically is Maurice Dean Wint, who plays Quentin. You may know him from a number of things. He plays Luther in Hedwig, which is one of my personal favorite films, Hedwig and the Angry Inch. He's also in Rude, which I'm sure we'll get to again. That's a very important film for Black Canadian history. Nicola de Boer, who is like a genre queen.
Yes.
I don't want to get into
I just saw her in
things.
Prom Night 4.
Oh, she's more
Yes,
Mary
Prom
Lou?
Night 4. No, Deliver Us from Evil. It's a new bad guy.
Oh, okay.
A new bad guy terrorizing your prom.
Nikki Gugadini's in it. She's in a ton of stuff. So's Andrew Miller. People will know David Hewlett from absolutely everything. Like, he's in a ton of stuff. And he's also in...
He was fantastic.
Yeah, he was great.
That's also, I mean, you're talking about the great turn where the guy you think will be the hero won't be the hero. And it's also a great turn where, like, the weird nihilist kind of becomes the hero.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that his when he did, like, I struggled to believe that he wanted to kill himself.
Yeah.
That was a little thin for me. I think they could have done a better job making him want to commit suicide because of the cube, because he had been part of creating this cube of death.
I mean, I don't think he wanted to either. I think he was just, and like Quentin said at one point, even in the movie, he was like, if you want to kill yourself, just go through this gate.
Yeah.
And whatever, but yeah.
There's some things I think, again, in terms of character portrayal, that I think are very forward-thinking. Like, for example, the women are doctors and math geniuses. I'm like, oh, thank you so much for adding that. I appreciate that. We should also mention this filmmaker went on to make Splice later on. He's now a huge genre film television guy, doing a ton of Brian Fuller stuff. He did a bunch of American Gods, Hannibal. He's doing he's fine. I'm not worried about him.
No, I actually really liked Splice too. That was I was a big fan. It's pretty good. Adrian Brody and Sarah Polley, and they just kind of make a new being. It's pretty good stuff. Yeah.
One thing that is there's two things that I find a little bit problematic about watching this film now is, first and foremost, the person with the mental handicap and the person who's not quite there, which apparently Cam says is not quite as problematic.
Future spoilers. If you care enough about the Cube series to continue through it. There's a heavy implication that he has been medically, handicapped.
Yes.
Really?
He is one of the Cube creators, and they have tried to destroy his brain and kill him.
Okay.
That's in Cube.
That's cool.
Cube 3.
Cube Zero. Cube Zero, which is Cube 3. Yes.
I did love Cube, but I never watched Cube 2 or Cube 0.
Cube 2 is interesting purely because it is the directorial debut of Quentin Tarantino's cinematographer.
I was going to say it's interesting because it's got the greatest colon ever, Cube 2, Hypercube.
Or cubening.
We're just selling it on you. And then the other thing that is I do find problematic is the fact that your only character of color becomes a violent domestic abuser. That I'm like, oh, guys, that's a little like not so down with it.
Yeah.
the 90s. You see, we weren't aware of those things in the 90s. We were just the sort of like la da da.
Exactly. Well, they were talking about remaking this a while ago. Now, here's my thing: is I think part of this works so well because they were working with what I like to call, and what professors might have called, available light theory. And the theory is that with the amount of light you have, the less light you have, the more specific you have to get people to focus on the specific things you need them to focus on. And I think this film really succeeds because of how little they had to work with. This film was made for $300,000. The director himself has said this should have been made between 4 and 5 easily. I think they shot it in something like 8 days. Like, it was crazy fast.
It was cool too. They didn't shoot in sequence. What they did was they shot each colored room, everything that they did like in the white room, and then they would replace the panels or replace the lighting, what do you call?
The gels or
the
whatever.
Gels, red room, do everything in the red room, blue room,
etc., etc.
Wow, and we should say that they go into a red room, 5 different times. They go into a white room, and so that's like a double applause for that acting. Then, wow, I would have
turn on a dime.
Yeah,
and the reason being is that apparently, so Vincenzo was actually originally a storyboard artist. He completely meticulously did his shot list. He knew exactly what he was going to shoot every single moment. And then the doors did not work on the cube on day 1, and they couldn't use any of it. Everything went out the window, and so he couldn't shoot in sequence. He had to figure out, okay, what can we shoot and not show the doors? And so 3 days in, they were able to get the doors working, and that's when they were able to go back to like any sort of semblance of what they planned.
Nice.
But that's the fun of it.
Yeah, man, that's tough.
I mean, Jaws wouldn't have been.
Yeah, the shark didn't work.
The shark did not work.
We would have had 1 million shark shots. That would have been garbage.
Exactly.
It would have made the movie more terrible. Yeah. Absolutely.
I will say can I pick on a movie that I love? Is that possible? Okay, cool. The one thing that drove me a little nuts now, and I think it dates the movie a little bit, is the number sequences. So when I think it's oh my gosh, can't remember her name.
The mathematician.
Levin, yeah. When Levin starts doing the all the math, there's a sequence of maybe like, I don't know, it felt like 9 minutes, but I'm sure it was 30 seconds, where the numbers were just kind of flipping around in circles. Do you remember that piece?
Yeah.
It was kind of like a little bit of anyways, oh my gosh, that was too long. I was like, oh, I forgot how long this part was.
One thing I would give it that I was shocked at how quickly it got to is I thought that there was a lot more griping and like fear and boot stuff before they figured it out, but there's not. Yeah. Like they get to her in the math very quickly.
And that's kind of what I mean is like they get to that really quick, and then they're like there's a sequence of many minutes where they're like, this is a good room, go. This is another good room, go. This is another good room. And you're just like, okay, they're just kind of going from one room to another. Now, it's a cool way to show that like time is passing and they're navigating through this giant maze safely until something bad happens, right? And they find out that their math was kind of wrong, and that's when they bring in Kazan. So the Rain Man.
Yeah, so Act 1 is essentially we meet all the characters. The turn Act 1 is maybe where would you say that's where she starts doing the mathematics? And then we move through what is the midpoint turn? The midpoint
maybe
turn
that they're like they can't find the end.
Yeah, I think the midpoint turn is when they realize that they're going in circles.
Yeah,
maybe that they figured it out and then what's his face dies.
And I think
the thing, like you have to go over who won and who lost the movie, right? So I think they basically lose the movie. So I think the midpoint turn would be at a high point, or when they discover the mentally handicapped guy knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be at the end of Act 2 when they figure out that's actually what it is. It's not the first. It would be that, because it would need to be a win in Act 2 for them to lose in Act 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Now when Quentin becomes the bad guy, he becomes the force against which they're going to push. Is now we're moving into Act 3.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm sort of just throwing that out as a question.
Interesting, because it is kind of a weird one. Because I guess
not a standard
what, and also what is your arc?
Yeah.
Because if your arc is like getting out, then I guess your third would be once they have the plan to try to find the moving bridge cube.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right that it is like a weird tragedy. So I guess
Yeah, absolutely. And so the only person who escapes is one of the
The handicapped gentleman.
the handicapped gentleman.
You know, I will talk about him for 1 second. In that there was, I mean, he had a couple great moments.
His performance was stellar.
Awesome. Yeah.
I thought he did a really good job.
And the tension in the scene where he has to be quiet. Do you remember that? And they got to move through the room where any noise makes these giant spikes come out, and everybody has to move through the rooms. They think about leaving him behind because, I mean, he can't shut up, I think is the point of it. And everybody gets quickly through the room, and then boom, he makes a little bit of a noise, but everybody gets through.
Yeah, the tension was amazing. Yeah, that was well done.
But the one thing I really liked about him was he did this thing where he, and I mean, I'm not going to do it on here, but he did this thing where he clapped the side of his head, right? When he was nervous, he was like clap, 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 clap. And there was actually a moment in the film where the tension is high, everything is kind of moving, he's clapping himself in the head, and then they move into like a musical sequence almost, and the clapping actually becomes a beat that continues on for the next couple seconds, or like half a minute or whatever, and it really just amps up the tension of everything that's going on, because it just keeps you feeling like he's clapping his ear even though he's not, right? It's moving into what they're doing and their plan and whatever. But really neat little moment. It's about, maybe I want to say like 3/4 of the way through, but it was really really cool thing when I saw it again.
Yeah.
It's an interesting character too, because I think it's kind of the first indication that Quentin is not good, right? Because he has zero interest or sympathy in what should be this should be like the most disgusting thing in the cube, is that they've somehow trapped like a person that can't take care of themselves really in the cube, and he has no time for, like, not even a second of time for this person, when pretty much everyone else, I think even David Hewlett, who's kind of a overall asshole, is like, hey, maybe don't be mean to the guy. We don't need to also be mean to this guy.
And it's funny, it brings up this like real human thing, like when you're in a situation where it's survival, are you the asshole to survive, or are you like, no, I have principles no matter what, and I'm gonna, stick by the group and make sure that everybody gets out, and it's a neat little piece of filmmaking for sure.
Part of me as an adult feels like this is very much like, I still think it's a well put together piece of cinema, especially considering the budget. But part of me also feels like this is a bit of a high school philosophy puzzle. Did you guys ever do that thing in high school where you had to get into groups and discuss, is like the apocalypse, and you had like a gym teacher and a pregnant woman and an army vet and like all these people, but you only had enough supplies for 4 people, and you had to decide who went outside and died or fended for themselves.
Do you save the baby because the baby could be good as an adult, or do you save the nope?
Did you guys see the questionnaire that the government floated, kind of introducing autonomous cars, maybe earlier on this year? They released a questionnaire to the internet, and it was basically like, at some point, driverless cars and the AI behind them will have to make a decision where somebody's going to live or die, right? So does the car plow into the pedestrians that just started crossing the street, or drive itself off a bridge? Right? And so does it know who's in the car, and does it know who's crossing the street, right? And if it does it let the 80-year-old man behind the wheel live, or the pregnant lady that's crossing the street live? And
are these guys just really obsessed with Star Trek and Spock? Because this seems like a needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few kind of test to me.
I also just feel like there's a single person in the world that's not like, no, my car is my like battle wagon. you run over that baby to save me, automatic car. That's what I pay you for.
Not talked to Grant Imahara yet. You don't know.
I mean, you don't get to make the decision. I don't think.
No, because I think everyone would be like me, obviously.
I want to live.
Yeah.
I mean, your car could ask you before you got in. Like,
do you want to live today?
Is today
I know. If the situation arises.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, here's a filmmaking question for you gadget heads. What do you think the most impressive shot of this film is, given the budget?
So I'm going to say the shot that I enjoyed the most, and I love shots that have a bit of depth. So there's one particular shot where and excuse me with regards to names and stuff, but the mathematician girl, she comes down in the into sort of the front of the frame. She's probably filling on the right hand side, and she's filling up about 3/4 of the frame. And just in the deep background, Quentin is standing there, kind of watching her as she goes through a moment. And in the fuzzy background, in the out of focus background. And I just love that kind of thing where you have multiple layers within a shot. I'd say that's probably my favorite shot in the whole film.
How about you, Jason?
I am not. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have a shot in particular, but the one part I love is the kind of the last battle sort of thing where Quentin's coming in and all of a sudden the door opens and he falls down through, and you find out that the other guy, the accountant guy or whatever he is, he's hanging upside down, getting ready to yank the door on the guy from the room below. So I don't know. I love that part.
Yeah.
How about you, Cam?
Oh, favorite shot wise. You know what? I think things that held up for me, which surprised me, was actually the exterior of the cube. I mean, there's a lot of CG, and I expected that would age fairly poorly, but I don't think it really did. It was still kind of interesting, and I love when they kill the main guy and it just streaks his blood as the cube.
Oh yeah,
That's such a satisfying. You don't see the squish, but you just see this like streak of blood that slowly runs.
You're totally right. I take mine back. That's my favorite. That was good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And because at first it's like just a little bit of blood trickling down. You're like, oh, look at that. And then it moves really quick. It streaks it across. That was great. Yeah, that's true.
I think for me, the face melt. I am such a sucker, as the people of this podcast will know, especially if they listen to our horror episodes. I am such a sucker for a solid headshot, but heads blowing up, heads getting crushed, heads melting. I love it because it's so freaking hard to do because heads are very complicated. They got lots of bits and matter. And I really love the face melt. I think it looks great for the budget they did. I think their makeup guy did a makeup guy their SFX team's amazing.
For the same thing, that guy getting chopped up into little cubes, that might be the best man chopped into cubes.
Easily. It's better than the losers in it's better than losers in Resident Evil. Much better. Which is this movie was 3 years before that. So it's like, come on, guys. Come on, P.W. Anderson, P.W. Anderson, W.S. Anderson, whichever one it is. One of the Andersons. You can do better. Jesus.
Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
Yeah, one of them.
Paul Thomas Wes Anderson.
Paul Thomas Wes Anderson. I'm having a day. Don't mind me. All right. So I think that's the episode.
That's just about Cube.
That's Cube.
I mean, do you guys think you'd survive the Cube?
Yeah, that's the big question.
That's got to be my one question.
I mean, 100%, because I would sacrifice. I would sacrifice all of you.
Okay.
But you need no.
Without
Teamwork is the answer. That's the point.
Sure.
They wouldn't have gotten out without each other.
That's a good
You
point.
would be my boot.
Oh, he does that too. He throws them through at one point. Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, I am very good at escape rooms. I would be fine. Cam would have built the cube, so he would have been okay too.
I always think that I'm the person in the apocalypse who you see a diamond and you go for it and then you get killed. Like you get a little too greedy, you're doing a little too well. And then, everybody's jeering behind your back. But I'd like to think I'd be nice to the mentally handicapped man.
You like to believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear you.
I would definitely die. You know what? I'm face melt guy.
Yeah.
I'm suck the button. Shut your mouth. Okay, let's go this way. Oh, that was a mistake.
I think I also might be prone to find the quickest death trap and just jump into that one. Because why not? Getting cubed doesn't seem so bad.
And before my face melts off, I will say, "You're welcome" in gurgles.
Do you think this was the precursor to escape rooms, or do you think it was Saw?
You know what? That's actually a very interesting thing. Again, if you're at all interested in Cube Zero is a lot. It's kind of around the Saw era, and it's kind of making the bridge of the gap that essentially, like, before they had the cube, they kind of had a series of Saw-style things. And that's their, like, pre-designing the cube is just trapping people in, like, kind of shitty Saw devices.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Cam, do you have a Cam's Can Con
Oh
Crush?
yeah, so normally, gents, I highlight an actor in the film, and this time, just because we haven't had a lot of men lately and we haven't had a lot of people of color, I'm going with Maurice Dean Wint, our Quentin. He's actually born in Leicestershire, England, but he moved here when he was 3. So he's
we'll take him.
He's essentially Canadian. You know, he got a degree from York University. Mostly a theater actor, though tons of TV stuff, tons of genre stuff. Along with lots of our favorite Canadian actors, he was a voice on the X-Men cartoon of the 90s. He was the Shadow King, Xavier's one true enemy.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we've found that a lot. There's like a lot of pretty good Canadian actors were the voices on that. And also, this is maybe one that I don't know that everyone will be familiar with, but do you guys remember Captain Power?
Yes.
The TV show
Yes.
about the gun that you could shoot the gun.
I was thinking
Captain Planet.
I was thinking Captain Planet.
Planet.
I was also
Captain Power was this weird live action Canadian stunt one, so
wait a minute.
Did not get.
And
I don't think it got to
wait a
the
minute.
US.
Did you shoot the TV?
You shot the
do
TV.
remember
You
that.
had a gun
I
that
do
shot at the
remember
TV. Yes. Kind of a Power Ranger style thing, and he was Sergeant Robert Scout Baker, who was kind of he didn't have the best powers. He didn't turn into a robot or anything like the rest of them. But I think he went invisible was his power. But he was one of the original Captain Power commandos. Look it up if you have not seen Captain Power.
It's so worth your time.
It's solid gold. And yeah, like we said, Clement Virgo's Rude. He has a Doro Award for Courageous. Nominated for Genie. Oh, and I will also say, also a voice on the Sam and Max cartoon, which was a personal favorite.
Yeah.
But I think for me, his greatest credit is he may be our only RoboCop of color because he was RoboCable on the RoboCop TV show, RoboCop Prime Directives.
Oh.
So I think he may be the only person of color to be a full-on RoboCop.
Cool.
Maurice Dean Wint, also a good actor, but I'm just impressed with the RoboCop. He was a Captain Power guy, and he was a RoboCop.
Very cool.
Fine by me.
So, gentlemen, I will be suggesting a short film right now that our listeners should check out. You're going to be going to She Stoops to Conquer. I think we talked a little
Julian
bit.
Richings.
Julian Richings. I think we talked about
one
this
of
a while
you
ago.
may see me thanked in the credits because I gave it some money on Kickstarter.
I fucking love this. I think it is weird to all hell. It's got Julian Richings in it. I went with it because it is low budget weirdness. It also involves a queer element to it. There's drag kings and drag queens. I love this so much. It is it is a woman who is attempting to emulate Julian Richings and like the actual actor Julian Richings and starts to kind of become him. I don't want to give any more away. It is fascinating. It is very cool. It is beautifully shot. And this woman does a stunning Julian Richings impersonation.
Yes, friend of the podcast, Kayla Lorette.
Yeah.
Also, it won a Canadian Screen Award.
Yeah, it's
an
really,
award-winning podcast.
It is really something special. So I'll have that up on the website, RCMPodcast.com, and we'll also put it on the Facebook. That will be come talk to us on Facebook. We'd love to chat with you. Think we're wrong? Come challenge us. Come for us, listeners.
Think you can put us in a cube? Just try.
Cam will blow it up, and I will help
Sure,
him.
yeah.
Yes, that or we'll just ask Jason and Adrian to come get us.
Yeah, save us from the queue.
We'll make a phone call. So, gentlemen, what are you guys doing these days? How can people find your stuff?
You can find us at the Fable Forest on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Yep. We have a website, thefableforest.com. On there, we have links to our first 2 feature films, I Was a Greenhouse and Bickerman's Grove, which are both available on iTunes and Amazon and Google and all that. And then firstframesfirst.com is or First Frames First on iTunes is our podcast.
Yeah, and as you guys as our listeners can probably hear, these guys know what they're talking about. Go listen to them; they're funny.
Yeah, and I'd also say I highly suggest watching your podcast on YouTube. It was fun.
It's we originally said we wanted to shoot the first 5 to 7 minutes or so. And throw it up on YouTube and then take away and then do the rest of the podcast audio only. But we're getting closer to putting the whole thing up on YouTube every time we do a show.
Yeah.
So, those who listen to us probably have never listened to an entire episode because we usually run long.
We think that our podcast is kind of garbage. But we really enjoy doing
100%. Like, here's the thing. We drink beers, we catch up, we talk about what we're doing.
And it's very selfish. Yes. It is a very selfish podcast. We do it for us.
But hopefully also for you. But mostly for us. But also for you. But mostly for us.
Basically.
That's exactly right.
We tell our wives, it's the podcast. I got to do the podcast. And then we go and guzzle some beers and talk about movies. Come on.
I'm about to send Cam out into the rain because Cam committed to coming to the east side to record with me.
Sometimes we have beers.
That is true. That is true. Every now and then. We're lucky.
Well, that's amazing. Thanks for having us. This is huge.
Well,
such a pleasure.
This is our first invite to someone else's show. So
we've never been invited to anyone's show.
So, saying, so it's nice that we're cross-posting.
I mean, here's the thing. You're instantly invited to our show.
Yeah, true. I guess
this entire show.
We're on your show now, kind of, so I accept.
There you go.
That's right.
So that your listeners can hear. Where do people find you?
So I mean, my on social media, I'm at CamFess, CAMFESS. That's just my personal, but I also tweet out a lot of work stuff, a lot of podcast stuff. At iCram on Instagram, EYECRAM is where I do my, I have a personal Instagram, same thing. But this one is just movie reviews because people like that, but my regular feed was pissed off by it, so I made its own thing. But yeah, mostly people can see me on TV, on Hollywood Suite, the 4 channels up in the top, the movie channels, where I just talk about movies. And then also I am on the Hollywood Suite blog, hollywoodsuite.ca/connect, where, I'll be talking about, well, it's Halloween, so I'm going to be talking about the 1999 remake of House on Haunted Hill and the legacy of William Castle that it pays tribute to. So that's my Halloween spookiness.
Cam, someday we'll have to get you to review our films, and then we'll bring you back on our show, and you can tear us a new one.
Or you can trap me in a cube.
So for myself, I am, as per usual, at Liz Shrimpton. That's the masculine Liz Shrimpton on the Twitters. You can find me on Instagram, Curvidia_extravaganza. That's the shrimp party on Instagram, where I generally post pictures of other people's pets and weird things I find at Winners. And you know what? I haven't plugged this in a while. I am still in Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. I play Bon Bon, the evil hand puppet. I have a fucking pop figurine character now. I'm in the big time. I do not own it because I do not like trinkets, but one exists. But
my kid probably owns it.
Probably. It's a big thing. The children, they love it. If you haven't played that game, guys, go play it. It's actually really a lot of fun. It's spooky and atmospheric, but it's not super violent.
I would say you have one of the best scares in that game.
Thank you, Cam. I appreciate that. So yeah, go give Scott Cawthorn your money. He's a really lovely dude, and I can't recommend him and his work enough. He's just trying to traumatize children. Can't you give money to the man trying to traumatize children? Sweet. Okay. So, gentlemen, I think that's everything.
Thank you so much. You guys are super professional at this. We were taking notes the whole time. We were like,
Do you think that we can keep our show under an hour?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Well, thank you guys. Do you guys want to go get a moose head by any chance? I know it's late.
Let's do it.
I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
We'll drive all the way.
Yay!
We'll be there very shortly.
Thanks for watching our YouTube video.
First frames first.
Yes. First frames first. Thank you, Jason.
Welcome.
If you enjoyed, head over to our website, www.thefableforest.com. Check out our films and sign up for our newsletter where we will send you exclusive content.
Hit us up on our socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, always at The Fable Forest. And share our show with your friends. It'll really help us out a lot.
Dream big.
Work hard.